You ready to do this?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Just when we thought our Wednesday was going to be peaceful, maybe some college hoops, football coming up this weekend, college football passed. And Jimmy Butler.
Jimmy Butler being
Here we go.
Jimmy.
Yeah, here we go. Jimmy Butler. Guys, thanks for joining us tonight, Wednesday, on the SoFLo Sports Show. It's 305 Sports Babe, co-host Lou from Dade, and the Jimmy saga continues. But before we get into the Jimmy saga, the real saga going on is this really ridiculously cold weather that we have right now. And when I say cold, we know that we have viewers from around the world, truly and sincerely. And we most definitely have probably the warmest weather out of any of them, but it's still cold.
Yeah, no. How cold is it? It's snowing in Florida, literally. It's snowing in Florida. I could not believe that when I saw that. Obviously, this is a big dolphin show here. We talk Miami Dolphins more than any other sport, but you know the saying is always, "Oh, when pigs fly," or "When it snows in Florida, the Dolphins will be good." Well, it snowed in Florida, and the Dolphins are still not good. So I don't know where to go from that, but yeah, it's snowing in northern Florida. It's nuts.
So this is the first winter season where it has snowed in all 50 states. Every one of the 50 states, minus Puerto Rico, which isn't really a state, and Hawaii, has received snow, which is wild. Crazy. Now, you guys are wondering where in Florida is it snowing? It's Pensacola, the Panhandle, Tallahassee, a little bit of Gainesville. So it's we have not received snow in South Florida. The last time it did snow here was in 1977. So it has been a long, long, long time since South Florida has received snow. But it's holding like 50 and 60 here. So just, we seem like 50 and 60 that people that go crazy for that weather. They would love that weather. But for us, it's nippy. So, yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah. I saw footage of people playing hockey on Bourbon Street. There was a guy that was out there with a puck and a stick and just, bouncing a puck around on Bourbon Street. That's pretty a scene you don't see every day. And then there was snow on the beach in Alabama, so that was pretty crazy to see the southern states, snow on the beach. That's definitely a rarity. So yeah.
No, definitely. So even though it is snowing in the rest of the country, the heat is on. Heat is on in a bad way. Our Miami Heat left for a 2-game road trip and without Jimmy Butler. Surprise or no surprise?
Oh, I'm not surprised at all. Our last show was last week, and the Heat had been coming off a 6-game West Coast trip, and they had a 3-game homestand. We were at the first game back when Jimmy's suspension was over, and a lot of people didn't know what we were going to get, whether he was going to play or not. I tweeted out I thought he was going to – we didn't know if he was going to come out and drop 40 points or he was going to come out and take his jersey off, throw it at half court, and walk out of the arena. Mm-hmm. He didn't do that. He played, to his credit, I guess, if you want to say it. But the body language is everything. We were there. We witnessed a good amount of people booing. I wouldn't say the majority. And he gets a pass for being in a city like Miami where, it's a little casual, a little laid back fan base. If he did this kind of an act in Philadelphia or Boston, they would have kicked him out of the arena.
New York, LA.
New York, another one. So LA is kind of like Miami, but New York, Boston, Chicago, Philly, those cities wouldn't put up with this kind of stuff. And so he got a pass with that. But the body language spoke everything. The guy, was not engaging with his teammates when during warmups. He was, kind of playing around. When he was introduced, he came out before his name actually got called and didn't really.
It's obvious he's in a relationship that he does not want to be in.
Correct. Yeah,
it cannot be more obvious.
The body language it tells you everything. And then last night we were actually at the game last night against the Portland Trailblazers. The Heat ended up losing a really bad loss against a horrible Trailblazers team. Jimmy didn't play in the last quarter pretty much, but the Heat were down all game. And, Coach Spo stuck with the guys. He even brought in Pelle Larsson, who played early on in the year as a rookie. Maybe Jimmy didn't like that, but, Spo went with the guys that got him back in the game, so I can respect that. But even before the game started, Jimmy's footwear. You want to talk about what he was wearing?
He was wearing Phoenix Suns colors. Now, granted, players do wear different colors, right? Sometimes you see pink. Sometimes our team's actually really known for wearing like highlight colors. Any day you can see like a hot pink, a neon, an orange, right? Whatever. but Jimmy intentionally wore Phoenix Suns color shoes.
Yeah.
It could not have been more obvious.
No,
So,
it's beyond obvious and beyond ridiculous that he's made it very clear that he wants to get traded to the Phoenix Suns. It's Phoenix Suns or bust, and according to him, and I wouldn't do it. I would not do it. At this point, for those of you who are just tuning in, and we're on our phones because we want to make sure that we don't miss any news, because the way it's looking, he could be traded before the show's over. So we'll see. But Jimmy Butler, for those of you again just tuning in, was supposed to get on a team flight to head to Milwaukee. The flight was supposed to leave at, I think, around 5 o'clock this afternoon. The Heat are going to be playing in Milwaukee tomorrow, and they'll be in Brooklyn on Saturday. And Jimmy Butler did not make the flight. He apparently reached out to team execs and said that he was going to be taking his own flight and joining the team in Milwaukee. And the team said, you know what, Jimmy?
Don't bother.
Suspended again. So he had a previous 7-game suspension. Now this is a 2-game suspension. And I'm sorry. I know. Are you going to play the clip? You got the clip?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, introduce it.
Yeah, Will Manso, who is one of the top reporters, if not the top reporter for Channel 10 down here, and covers the Heat pre-games show and post-game show as well. He asked Jimmy some questions, and Jimmy gave his answers. But so here we'll just roll it. Here's some of.
I guess it's basketball at this point. I know what I'm expected to do while I'm here. Try to do that to the best of my ability, but wherever we are.
How much uncertainty was there about playing tonight? How much uncertainty was there about playing tonight?
I knew I was going to play.
Jimmy, there's a lot said the last couple of weeks. I mean, I know it's hard to clear everything up in 1 second, but I mean, what was the plan going forward when you knew you were coming back? Was this the plan? Did you know you were at 7 games you were going to play tonight? Was that the plan throughout?
I mean, that's what Dad told me. But it was a lot said by everybody, except for me, to tell the truth. So we'll let people keep talking like they know everything, like they have all the answers. And then sooner or later, the whole truth will come out. But until then, we'll continue to let people talk. And if I'm here, I will get out there and play.
You said that. How hard is it to separate fact from fiction for you? Do you even bother doing that when you hear the different things? I mean, is there anything in particular that there's just everything that's been said?
No. I expect for people to talk. Half the reason because don't nobody ever know what I'm really doing. So you just make up stuff, which is fine. And honestly, I really don't pay any attention to it. But I got people telling me, oh, they said this, they said that. And it's like it's really all good. I don't have to clear anything up.
Yeah.
So, more power to you. Keep talking and
So we'll cut it there. Basically, you saw there, you got the gist of it. He's pretty much saying that the true story will come out. Well, he just missed a flight. I'm sorry. I'm not buying it. Is the next story that the Heat told him the flight was at a different time? Is that what his next excuse is going to be? I mean, at this point, and you tell me how you feel, but he's like the boy that cried wolf. I mean, why would you believe anything that he has to say? And this is just beyond ridiculous, when you're in this kind of a bind, you're coming off a 7-game suspension, you got to do it better than everybody else, not the other way around. And you miss a team flight, it tells everybody where your priorities are at. And clearly they are not to be part of the Miami Heat moving forward.
Yeah, no, the only one that should have missed the flight was Terry Rozier, because Terry Rozier is
yes, absolutely.
I mean, respectfully, Scary Terry, I would have been okay with you missing that flight. But
I don't think he got back on the flight from the West Coast because he's done nothing. He's been pretty bad all season, but particularly this last couple games.
Yeah, he would have been one that definitely could have stayed home the next 2 games. But no, for those who are still buying Jimmy Butler merchandise, for those who are still going to his coffee shop, you guys are part of the problem. Like this new generation likes to say, you're part of the problem. And you need to stop feeding into this because he needs to go. Whether that means Bradley Beal comes here, whoever the case may be, it will be better just mentally and flush out the toxins to get Jimmy Butler off this team. There are plenty of guys. Khalil Ware, he had over 20 points last night. This kid is a hustler. He wants to be
First
here.
start last night.
Tyler Ichiro, he's been on the team for a few years, but he's having arguably the best season of his career.
Yeah, no, he is.
Now you have a guy like Duncan Robinson, up and down, whatever. Bam, same thing. But you have guys who are showing that they want to be on the team, who deserve a spot on the team, and you can't have, like I like to say, cut the fat. Jimmy Butler is the fat, and like anybody else in this world, he can be replaced. He needs to be replaced, and it's gonna happen before the trade. It better happen before the trade deadline coming up in like 2 weeks.
Yeah. So I'm kind of at a point right now where I wouldn't trade him. Here's what I'm thinking. As
So
you
let
saw,
everyone stay unhappy.
well, here's the thing. As you saw, it was only a matter of time. And I said that. We went out there that first game when he came back. We're in the Vice jerseys, which are awesome, by the way. The original Vice jerseys are great. And we all kind of fell for it. Oh, well, he's out there. Maybe he's conformed. He's repledged his affinity towards Heat culture. But we all knew it was a matter of time. Just like he's done this everywhere else. Chicago, then Minnesota, then Philadelphia, now Miami. It was only a matter of time. And it'll be only a matter of time before he misses another flight or curses out a teammate in practice. So what I would do is I'd keep on suspending him. Here's where I'm going with this. Keep suspending him, okay? Pay him, obviously, the rest of this year. If he wants to not play or whatever, have him show up and sit on the bench, okay? Pay him. Here's where it's going to go. The next year, for next season, 25-26, he's got a player option. It's not a team option. It's a player option. So it's on him whether he wants to opt in to a $56 million deal or he can opt out. And the way things are going, there's no way he'd opt in. So he would say, okay, you proved your point. You're not going to accommodate where I want to go or do me. So I'm opting out. And then, hold on. And then good luck getting $56 million plus the more money you want after that in a long-term extension. No one is going to give it to him. No one. Why would they give this guy money? He's proven that all he does is at the end destroy franchises. That's what he's proven.
It's too much of playing games. I'm not about that. The relationship is over. It needs to be over. We don't need to wait. We don't need to spend. What really is getting me mad is Jimmy's, being his typical attitude, not going into huddles, not coming out of intros, like all this caca that he's doing. And then people like Nicola and Tyler, and they're just laughing about it. Like, this is not funny. This is a business.
I get it. But at this point, he is untradeable. There's no way. He's already said that he only wants to go to Phoenix.
Yeah.
Phoenix has nothing to offer us. Bradley Beal is.
They're talking now a 3-way trade with the Bucks.
Okay,
too.
but
that
again, we have to accommodate those teams in order to get what we want, and they know that we want to get rid of him, and he knows that he doesn't want to be here. So at this point, you're not going to get maximum value back. I would rather him opt out of his contract next year and have $56 million of free money to use to get somebody else, because whoever you get back now is not going to get you Jimmy value for next season, which. It is his choice. And if he doesn't want to be here, pay him till the end of the year or keep on suspending him. By the way, when he gets suspended, he does not get paid. It is unpaid leave of absence. So he does not get paid. So let him keep being a clown, keep on suspending him, hit him in the wallet, and then he will not opt in. He will not opt into a contract next year if he doesn't want to be here. And let him try and get that money somewhere else, and he won't get it. I'm beyond infuriated with the situation. The guy took us to 2 finals, almost a third finals.
You recently started turning like this. At the first, you were kind of like a little more soft-headed, and now you're starting to harden up. I
just said that I wasn't going to boo him. I wasn't going to. But at this point, this guy, how do you miss a flight? And then he says, well, I've it's all on the team. The team has forced me to do these things. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
What did any other player miss a flight? Did a coach miss a flight? No one. I've never heard of this. The problem is him. The problem is him. And I'm done. To me, and we were at the game last night, as mentioned. Khalil Ware's first start. Tyler Hero did not play last night. That's why Ware started. He was a rookie. 20 and 16, 2 blocks in his first game out. And I think that we saw Jimmy Butler's last game in a Heat uniform last night. We saw it live. I think he's done. I don't see how he could come back and make this right.
Well, as mentioned, we go to Milwaukee, then they play in Brooklyn, and then the next home game would be next Monday against our up the 95 cross 4 Orlando Magic state rivals. So we shall see, but the big obviously is a trade deadline coming up, and we're going to see how this cookie crumbles. But the cookie is definitely going to crumble.
Yep, no, it's crumbled already. So, but I don't know what you got next. But for those of you just tuning in, or if you've been here before, don't forget to like tonight's episode and please subscribe if you're not a subscriber. For those of you who are in the SoFLo Sports Show Playoff Pick'em Contest, we will be unveiling our top 5. We're down to the final 5. So those of you who have been playing, stay tuned. We will get you those top 5 rankings for the contest.
Yeah, before we jump into NFL, obviously that's the big meat on the plate now, and a lot of things to talk about there. College football, we had the national championship on Monday. Monday was MLK, and then the inauguration of our president Donald J. Trump, and then followed by the national championship game. We had Ohio State, and we had Notre Dame, and I was going for Notre Dame. How about you? What were you really going for? I know you're kind of like.
I was going for a sinkhole. I'm a University of Miami Hurricane football fan, and as I mentioned in last week's show, the Catholics versus convicts, even though I'm Catholic, but the whole Notre Dame versus Miami. Miami's like the convicts. So Notre Dame and Miami have a very big, rivalry. And then Ohio State stole a national championship from the Hurricanes in the Fiesta Bowl. They should have won that, and a referee threw a flag at the last moment. And so the Hurricanes were robbed in the desert. So I am highly against both teams. So I was rooting for a sinkhole for both teams to lose if possible.
Well, your wish was not as command. Obviously, the game was at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Interestingly, in Atlanta, interestingly enough, they have a Chick-fil-A in that stadium. And since the game was not on a Sunday, people got to enjoy their chicken if they chose.
That's awesome.
One thing that I did not know going into that game, the coach of Notre Dame, Marcus Freeman, is an Ohio State alumni.
Yeah.
So that's always an interesting twist to everything when, especially in a game to that caliber, you're going against a national championship against your alma mater. So we all know how the game ended. Ohio State did pull away and beat Notre Dame. Interestingly enough, Ohio State does get more money for winning, but has to share with the Big Ten.
Correct. Yeah.
So more money in, but more you have to disperse out.
Yeah. And so, now with this college football playoff, instead of it just being one game, it's a multitude of games. So along the way, they're racking up this money that, Ohio State has earned, but they have to split it with the Big Ten. Notre Dame, on the other hand, that does not have a conference, they get to share all that money for themselves. So Notre Dame is really the winner here, even though they lost the game, in this new world of college football and college sports in general, where you got NIL deals, where you got the transfer portal. Notre Dame has a lot of money now that they don't have to share with anybody in this run that they just had. And with Marcus Freeman being as great a coach as he is, that's going to be a very, that's an interesting story to watch, because Notre Dame could be back in a perennial powerhouse like we've never seen before.
So we will see how that all goes. How that all pans out. One more thing before we go into football, Hall of Fame.
Yes.
Ichiro Suzuki
Hall of Fame,
has been announced that he will be going into Cooperstown. He has forever home in Cooperstown. He's also joined by CC Sabathia. And CC Sabathia was one that you mentioned, maybe deserving, but maybe the time was not now.
Well, so he got in first ballot. I think he is a Hall of Famer. I just, the traditional numbers, but then I saw another stat that came out that he was a left-hander. I knew he was a left-hander, obviously, but he was third amongst left-handers all time in wins. So, CC Sabathia had a great career with the Indians at the time, and then the Yankees, where he won a World Series. So 3,000 strikeouts. He's definitely deserving. I just thought he could have waited because Ichiro was a lock. Ichiro, and by the way, there's one jackass out there. Sorry for the word, but he didn't vote Ichiro unanimous. Everybody voted Ichiro,
but
all the writers, except one person.
So I want to add something to that. There was one player who went into
unanimous. Just one.
Mariano
Rivera is the only one. There's been two that missed it by one vote. Derek Jeter, and now Ichiro.
Crazy.
And so this voter, I don't know what he was thinking. I mean, if there was ever a case for a guy to be unanimous, it's Ichiro.
He started his career at 27.
27
from
years
Japan.
old. Absolutely. Yeah. So normally the trajectory of getting, 3,000 hits is a big barometer for a baseball player. And you really got to start in your early 20s. Ichiro came over from Japan and started his career at 27 years old, almost 28. Yeah. And he still finished with 3,000 hits. Mm-hmm. I think he has 3 of the all-time hit seasons, top hits in a season marks. He had a tremendous glove, Gold Glove winner, tremendous arm, leadoff batter, stole bases, hit for power when he could. Of course, we saw him in his later years down here in Miami. He came down and played here. He got his 3,000 hit in a Miami Marlins uniform. So Big Ichiro fan, highly deserving. So yeah, it was awesome. We actually saw him in an interview last night. He was still speaking. He didn't speak English. He has translator. He can speak English, but he chose not to in this particular interview. But very prideful person. He's just awesome.
Yeah, what I was going to say is you mentioned Ichiro has been in this country for, X amount of years and stuff. So when they pulled him up, we were in bed and we were watching it casually. And you were like, he doesn't speak in English. I'm like, Lou, yes, he does. He is ready for this. And sure enough, translator to the full. And then Ichiro. And then they just speak. God bless the Japanese language because they just speak, they spew it out. People think Spanish is fast. Japanese is like, psh, 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 psh. So they're asking the questions. It's being translated. And so it would have been really, really nice to get it word by word because obviously there's some lost in translation. I also enjoyed after the commentators asked Ichiro the questions, they brought up Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah.
Great pal of Ichiro's. They're
former teammate.
BFFs there, and they have a great relationship. And obviously Ken will be there. He says he's going to be there with him.
Yes,
he's going to be there at the ceremony.
He told me he had to bring a bottle of sake.
Yeah, a big bottle of sake.
He's the man.
An interesting thing that they did speak about Ichiro last night is Ichiro would refer to his teammates by their middle name. I guess in the Japanese culture, they don't have middle names. So Ichiro has this fascination with middle names.
Yeah.
So he would call the players by their middle names, which I just thought it was cool too.
Well, since you mentioned that, I want to add one more thing. His name is Ichiro Suzuki, but yet in the back of his jersey, it said Ichiro, not Suzuki. Mm-hmm. And oddly enough, I was actually at the only game where he wore a last name in the back of his jersey. Very tragic, though. It was not his last name. It was the name of Jose Fernandez, the Marlins star pitcher that was killed in a boating accident. Once that happened, the Marlins all wore Fernandez on the back of their jersey. And that's the only time in his career that he actually had a last name on the back of his jersey because he always went by Ichiro on his back. So, yeah.
Yeah. And one last closing remark about Ichiro. We went to Seattle a few months ago. We toured T-Mobile Park. We saw a game at T-Mobile Park. And when we did the tour before the ball game, the tour guide was saying how active Ichiro still is with the Mariners organization, that any given game, you can go there. Ichiro's in the outfield. He engages with the fans. I mean, he is that guy. He didn't just do what he had to do and leave MLB. He's very active still with the Seattle Mariners organization. So all around, really excited for Ichiro to make a permanent home in Cooperstown this summer.
Yep. The Mariners also announced that they're going to be retiring his number 51. So we kind of another 51 that played in Seattle, Randy Johnson, but he chose to go into the Hall of Fame as an Arizona Diamondback. Yeah. And, the Mariners kind of took exception with that. So it looks like it'll just be the number 51 tied to Ichiro that will be retired. And I got to assume, too, that he'll get a statue in front of T-Mobile Park.
Sure.
He's very deserving of that. So.
Definitely. Sticking gears just to baseball, pitchers and catchers will be reporting soon.
Yeah, a couple
Very
weeks.
exciting about that. And Marlins still have Marlins are just saving their pennies, right? I don't know what's going on in their piggy bank, but we're just not cracking it. We're not making moves. And so, the season's going to start soon and we'll see how it is. One move that the Marlins did make, Kyle Seeloff has been promoted as our TV play-by-play announcer. We hope to have Kyle on our show in a future episode. So exciting news for Kyle to be taking that spot and be covering Marlins baseball.
Yeah, former radio voice of the Marlins, and now he is going to be doing the play-by-play on TV, so that's pretty cool. Also wanted to mention that along with Ichiro and CC Sabathia, Billy Wagner, closer, who played for the Astros, the Phillies, the Mets, played for a couple teams, eighth all-time in saves, so he was also deserving. Again, I would have made him wait a little bit, especially with the closer category. You got Mariano, Trevor Hoffman, and then, there's a drop-off. But, very deserving. He had a good career. I just would have waited a little bit for him. But Billy Wagner, congratulations. Hall of Famer.
Yeah. So we'll see. One more thing before football. I know we're so excited. We're excited to talk football.
We're getting to it.
But it's kind of like, dang, Dolphins aren't in it. We don't start with it. So Florida Panthers kind of struggling the last few games, 5-4-1 record the last 10 games. They won 2 in a row against the Anaheim Ducks. I know you were watching a thing on 30 for 30 about the Anaheim Ducks. I'm really interested about their story. I only caught a little bit. I think I was cleaning. You can share that another time, but how when they came up, people thought it was like a fake thing, like a fake
Right.
team. Which
because off the
yeah.
movie, the Mighty Ducks, and so when they announced that they were going to get an expansion team, a lot of players were like, "Really? And what it's going to be called the Mighty Ducks?" They thought it was kind of like too commercialized with Disney, and
Yeah.
a lot of people didn't want it. But no, it was a very fascinating episode.
I know you want to
check
watch it
out.
again and everything, but it was very interesting. So Panthers head to the West Coast, 3 games against the Las Vegas Golden Knights, which would be another Stanley Cup rematch.
Right, exactly.
From 2 years ago.
Yep.
And San Jose Sharks,
They
and
play
then
the
they play
Kings
the Kings tonight in LA. And so we'll see what they're about. But yeah, it's you don't want to say that they have that Stanley Cup hangover, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to say that.
It's a long season.
It is. It really, really is. I know the NBA just hit their like halfway mark, so I know NHL is going to be just around that mark as well, but not so exciting for the Panthers right now. It's kind of just, I hate to use the term, game by game, and we'll see how that all plays out.
Panthers are, as mentioned, Russell in the house. They're playing the Kings tonight, so that'll be a good one. The other Kings actually brought back their old original uniforms, so they had the cool Kings crest on their sweater, and so I'm looking forward to watching that game. It's going to be late. You probably won't stay up for it, but
watch me.
I'm excited to watch the
kidding.
Panthers take on the Kings tonight, and it should be fun the next couple of games.
Just kidding. One last plug. I promise, guys, we're switching. Little shout out to my St. John's Johnny's basketball, currently ranked 20 in the nation. Yes, you heard that right. Red Storm, Red Men, Godfather, Rick Pitino, ranked 20.
Yeah.
Okay, so coming from somebody like you, who you're an Arizona fan,
right?
You've seen this, right? You've had great team, you've had great seasons. You've been in March Madness. We've watched it together. That upset at Princeton, like we were there. I've done that. I've done the seasons with you, right? Like
yeah.
I've done the 7th degree, the 8th degrees with you, whatever degrees. But this is big for me.
No
I'm
doubt.
So excited to see. Only thing is, you kind of still ranked, and that's such like a big like. What the frick?
They're the two-time defending champions.
I know, but they're not the same team who they were. They so they need to come and just accept that every year is a new year and respect where it is. But no, I'm super excited to see where the St. John teams go.
And you should be. Patino's a guy that's taken, every team that he's been with except for Iona, but he's taken Providence, Kentucky, Louisville, all of the Final Four, and I wouldn't put it past him getting St. John's back to that level of prominence.
So I do want to share a stat that we saw just a little bit ago. Rick Pitino joins 3 other coaches that have made March Madness in every decade, the last 3 decades.
That's incredible.
So, I mean, Coach K, Coach K is on there as the other coaches and stuff. But you think about it, like he's made it in the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, and with different teams. So hopefully he continues this awesome trend of producing winning teams.
Russell disagrees with you. He says, go UConn. So we'll see about that.
Everything I say. So
and then Russ Taylor brings up the greatest sports movie, The Mighty Ducks. It's a real team, and you're right. It's incredible. I do want to bring up another movie that's one of my favorites, and that's Major League. And since our last show, we also lost one of the all-time greats, speaking about play-by-play voices, Bob Uecker, the longtime voice of the Milwaukee Brewers since 1971. He passed away, and a true character, just a lot of, funny guy, everything that he brought to the table, and a legend. And of course, his role in Major League was one of the best ever. So rest in peace, Bob Uecker.
All right. The moment you've been waiting for. Let's talk football. We have 4 remaining teams. One, many people did not see it coming. And those are the Washington Red Commanders. Just kidding, right? Washington Commanders. Then we have the Philadelphia Eagles. I know we have some Eagles fans in the room. Super excited, but not surprised because obviously they were a hot team going into the season, and they held their ground. Then we have on the AFC side, we have the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. And before we talk a recap about last week's games, I do want to make mention that surprise, surprise, Dolphin Twitter is split down the middle with this AFC championship game, completely set. And what I'm saying is you have half of our fan base saying go Bills. You have half the fan base saying go Chiefs.
I don't think it's half.
But you scroll and you see different opinions. So I do want to elaborate on this, right? So AFC championship game, second game on Sunday. Obviously, the 3:00 game is the NFC game, and then after would be the AFC game where you have the Bills and the Chiefs. And I try to be even playing ground, right? I see both sides, right? You have the Chiefs who, if they do continue to win the Super Bowl, it would be 3 straight Super Bowls. That's disgusting. We don't want that to happen. But on the other side, you have the Buffalo Bills. And no, like we don't like the Buffalo Bills.
Hate them.
So we hate them. So it's like, do you kind of say, okay, Chiefs, make it 3, but then don't ever win for the next 3 million years? Or do you say, Buffalo, you know what? Do it for the AFC East. Knock them out. Forget Patrick Mahomes. Forget Taylor Swift. So I see both sides. Now, the correct, what you might want to say, politically correct thing is go Chiefs. Correct?
Yeah. Absolutely. Go Chiefs. Yep.
So, again, another battle that you'll see on Dolphins Twitter. You have people arguing.
Or, as Brett brings up, go refs, because we all know that the refs are on the Chiefs side.
Man, right?
I mean, listen, the memes that are coming out of Andy Reid bowing down, if you will, to the refs before the game. I saw Patrick Mahomes making out with the refs. I saw a lot of stuff I did not want to see, but it is a thing. I mean, these refs are on the Chiefs' job.
They're doing nasty things
the whole time. It's crazy.
Things. Not even behind the locker room. Like, they're doing nasty things on the field to them. Like, whatever. So, how did we get to this position?
Really, so Russ has mentioned that the Eagles, if it had been right now, his old tickets are going for $1,400 a piece for the NFC Championship game. So that's a crazy stat. I also want to bring up the fact that, you're going to get into the score. So go ahead and do that first.
All right. So how did we get to this position? Especially Commanders, man. What? So how did this all happen? Started on Saturday. Saturday, 3:00 is when it all broke loose. You had the Texans and you had the Chiefs.
Yep.
You obviously knew going into this game that Texans were not favored, right? And CJ Stroud has had an up and down season, but you want to root for the guy. It's his second year in the league, right?
Got 2 playoff games under his
Religious
belt.
guy. He's a leader. This team loves him. His fans love him. So you're like, all right, man, if this is going to be a Cinderella story, let it be today.
Right.
Let it go down today. And it did not work that way. Mahomes had a quiet 177 yards, and
no touchdowns.
Yeah, but the Chiefs just did Chief things and knocked the Texans out 23-14. So it could have been worse.
It could have. It was an even game, and funny thing how that game ended. The Chiefs. I got to mention this. The Chiefs were anywhere from 8.5 to 9.5 point favorites. Well, when the game was in hand and the Chiefs were winning by 11 points. Andy Reid, as time is winding down, says, well, I don't want to punt this ball and give them an actual chance. I want to pin them back deeper because they were deep in their own territory. Mm-hmm. Andy Reid decides to have Mahomes drop back, the punter drop back and take a safety.
That was for points, man.
Those 2 points change the perspective of a lot of people who are, trying to beat the wise guys out there. And a lot of people in Vegas that were watching that in the sportsbook probably did not care for that, or some people did care for it, but it changed a lot of people's money line.
That moment, I will tell you, that moment, Lou went out to get the laundry real quick, 2 seconds, and he came back and he said, "What happened?" I said, "I don't even know." Like, everybody was just shook. Like, it was just
right.
It was such an Andy Reid thing, right? Like, if it wasn't Bill Belichick, I the thing is he keeps getting brought up in every show. Like, we just need to exfoliate that out of our mouth and let that be out. But like, if it wasn't a Bill Belichick thing, it was such an Andy Reid thing, and you came back and I said safety, you said what? I said safety, and you couldn't believe it. Then Lou has this tendency just to rewind TV. It's the worst thing that TV ever invented, was rewinding TV. If you miss it, you miss it. He rewinded it, and so that was just cray.
I did rewind it because Joe Buck, who a lot of people take exception with him as an announcer, but he said, he was like, well, a lot of people are really interested in that play and that safety. And then Troy Aikman just went like, he just like growled or something. Like, he couldn't believe it.
Okay, so you bring them up. Would you pick them two, or would you pick Nance and Romo?
So I like Nance.
I know, that's a tough question.
I like Nance better, but I cannot stand Romo. Romo is all over Josh Allen's schlong. I mean, he cannot stop. He's got diarrhea of the mouth, or I think he sleeps with a Josh Allen pillow or something. I mean, he loves the guy.
Yeah.
And he loves Mahomes too. So this game's going to be I might put the sap on.
We've never had that
I
conversation
might watch it in Spanish this Sunday, because I want nothing to do with Tony Romo's love affair over Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. So, yeah.
And for me, just in case you were wondering, we never, we really don't talk. We're so into the game.
Right.
Yes, we listen, but honestly, between you and I, we kind of do our own play-by-play. Oh, 10 yards, this, that. Like, so we hear them, but we don't. I don't like Joe Buck. I've never liked Joe Buck.
He's
very
pompous. I actually saw him in Vegas once many years ago, and he's a douche. He just
the language, man.
He's just trying to look at me. I'm Joe Buck and my angelic voice. Come on, dude, get off your high horse.
I'm more than okay with Nance and Romo. Whatever. I know Romo gets a lot of shade for liking Josh Allen, but you like what you like. You like me sometimes, whatever. So whatever. Okay, moving on. So Texans couldn't do it against the Chiefs. Chiefs went on and won.
You got the Chiefs advanced to their 7th conference championship in a row. 7 in a row.
Gross.
Totally disgusting. But yeah.
All right, so the next game really shook the cowboy off the horse.
Yeah.
We had the Commanders, number 6 Commanders, going against the number 1 Lions, Dan Campbell's number 1 Lions. And as Dolphin fans, you kind of want to see Dan Campbell, right? He was so close last year. I remember we were in Kansas City, and we were watching the game at that cool bar with your friend Brian.
Yeah.
And we're like, Dan, and whatever. So he said, okay, maybe this is the year that Dan Campbell figures it out. And he's going against the number 6 Commanders. And obviously, so you have Jared Goff against Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is a rookie for season.
Incredible.
And I retweeted something that he said in 2000, I think it was like 14 or 17, a few years ago. He says, I'm going to be a superstar one day. And, you get these kids and they say that and then look at it. So what happened? Jaden Daniels, he had 299 yards with 2 touchdowns. And even more, the Lions had 5 turnovers. I mean,
that's crazy. I mean, they were
Jared Goff, 5 turnovers? Like, I could have seen that.
Well, it wasn't all Jared Goff.
I know,
but 5 total turnovers on
against
the Lions.
Jared's offense.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Jared Goff just couldn't get it together. And that Commanders defense, give him credit. They forced 5 turnovers. One of them was a pick 6 return that a lot of people who I know you're waiting for the rankings in our SoFLo Sports Show Pick'em contest. One of the questions was, will there be a defensive touchdown returned? And sure enough, it happened in that game. So give the Commanders credit. They were all over the Lions. They punched them in the mouth early and often, and they stuck to it. And they went into Detroit, a team that was 14-2 all year, and they beat the number 1 seed.
So if I can add, I do think that this is a team that we, meaning the Dolphins, will see in Spain next year.
A lot of people are saying that. A lot of people, that was trending on Twitter, that the Dolphins will be facing the Commanders most likely. So we will see. We'll stay tuned.
But Jaden Daniels, it's a beautiful little love story going on. We'll see if he's the real deal. I mean, he's won 2 playoff games already, right, as a rookie. So that's pretty real deal. And we'll see how he, goes against the Eagles, which Eagles on Sunday ended up beating the Rams.
Well, you got to back up. So once that game ended, obviously, you go into Sunday, and the Eagles know now that the Lions are out. And if they win that game, they're hosting the NFC Championship game. That's a big deal.
Of course, against their one of their arch nemesis.
Yeah.
And so the Eagles played the LA Rams. LA Rams still, the uniform, the LAFC still beautiful. Obviously, California's still dealing with those fires and another recovery. So you do like to see, and you want to support them as well. There's a lot going on there. So Rams made their way to Lincoln Field. Lincoln Field at the beginning of the game.
Lincoln Financial Field. The link.
Yeah. It was cold, right? And they said, hey, it's going to be cold. You're going to get some rain that's going to turn into snow. And the beginning of the game was fine.
Yeah.
Well, sure enough, second, third quarter, then it starts coming down. Not a heavy blizzard, right? It's nothing that people in Buffalo have seen where they're shoveling out, but they had snow. They still had snow. And so Saquon, again, lit it up. Saquon had an amazing game.
That was early on. The snow really came towards the end.
Eventually, it did.
It wasn't, I mean, I don't even want to say blizzard or Buffalo, but it was heavy. It was heavy snow towards the end of that game, no doubt. And it affected the way that the play was managed out there.
So Saquon had 2 touchdowns for 205 yards, and Rams had 2 turnovers, which hurt them.
Absolutely. Those turnovers came up big at the end there, and no doubt. But Saquon, guy's a monster. For me, he's the league MVP, and it's tough to stop him. So you got to give him credit. And the Eagles, by beating the Rams, it came down to the last possession. The second Saquon touchdown put him up 13 points because obviously Jake Elliott, by the way, I know Russ is in the room. Jake Elliott definitely, it's got to get it together because he missed 2 extra points. And so because of that, the Rams got the ball back and actually were driving to win the game because they, ended 28-22. A touchdown would have tied it, and an extra point would have put them in position to win that game. So it really came down to the end. It was a good game, and shout out to Sean McVay and getting his team ready. Difficult situation, starting the playoffs, having to play in Arizona, and then having to travel cross country to Philadelphia. You got to give him a lot of credit for almost pulling that off.
And Russ, this one's for you. EGLES, Eagles.
Did you spell it right?
No, I did it on purpose.
Okay.
No, that's an inside joke going on there. So
What's the inside joke?
their mayor spelled it wrong.
Oh, tell them. I didn't want to tell me.
Everybody saw that.
Oh, okay.
So,
I didn't see that. All right.
You didn't see that?
No, I did not.
I should pull it up. Yeah, there was a.
Russ, do you know about this? The mayor.
Yep, thank you.
The mayor
Everybody
said,
did, though.
okay.
As much as you're on social media, I don't know how
I
you
didn't
missed
see
that
that.
one.
I did not see that. Wow.
Yep, the mayor. She went on and she's pumping up the city and she goes EGLES Eagles, and then she retracted it and she goes, nothing's perfect. So
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding. Wow, that's a tough one.
I know. Can you imagine if her team was Eagles or the Commanders? See, there's a lot of letters there.
A lot of letters there.
Definitely. Yeah, but the mayor's doing great work here. So perfect. No, that's always good to hear. And then the last game was, I think, the one that we had maybe the most eyes on.
Yeah, definitely. We're all, rooting obviously for those Ravens. And you mentioned, obviously the Chiefs winning and we were rooting for the Texans.
Yeah.
I wasn't rooting for the Texans. I'll tell you why. Because I had a feeling that the Bills were going to win and the Bills would have hosted the Texans and they would have gone to the Super Bowl for sure. They still may go, but it's going to be a tougher challenge going to Kansas City than hosting the Texans in Buffalo. So go ahead. What happened in that game?
Yeah, so this game was held in Buffalo and it was cold.
Yeah.
You had snow. And the Bills just pulled it away. And we all know how that one ended. Unfortunate, really, really, really unfortunate for Mark Andrews. Number 89, the ball was in his hands. And this guy will catch that 1,000 more times. Like 1,000. Like he will
Great
not.
player.
He really is. We've seen him play plenty of times when the Dolphins have played the Ravens. He's done his own damage on us. And he just missed it. And so,
yeah, for those of you, I'm sure you guys watched the game, but the Ravens were driving down. They scored a touchdown, and they were a 2-point conversion away from tying the game.
Yeah.
And Lamar Jackson rolled out, hit him right in the stomach.
Yeah.
He had it in his hands, and he just dropped it. And then worst off that wasn't bad enough. That was bad enough, but he had a big fumble at midfield off a catch where one of the Bills defenders punched it out, and he fumbled that ball. So he had 2 big miscues that would have won the game for the Ravens.
So I want to add a little bit more on that before we wrap this all up here. Ravens fans are not the nicest, right? They're they're passionate fans, but they're just not nice.
Right.
So they were sending him death threats.
Oh, that's
He's
crazy.
gotten all this nasty thing, like the worst of the worst. He shared some of it on social media.
Oh, that's terrible.
So Bills Mafia, I'll give it to you. Mark Andrews, he's a big supporter of childhood diabetes. He's diabetic himself.
Oh, wow.
And his foundation is based around childhood diabetes. So what did Bills Mafia do? They said, hey, let's make a goal of $5,000 to donate to his charity. They broke that. They're like at almost $20,000. So
Crazy.
Bills Mafia, the whole thing with the concussion, they do put their money where their mouth is. And so although it wasn't a good ending for the Ravens, the Bills Mafia did a wonderful thing and raised a lot of money for his charity that supports childhood diabetes.
Yeah, no, that's a tremendous thing that they did. And it's going to come down now to you got the first game, NFC. You're going to get the Commanders as a 6 seed going up against the number 2 seeded Eagles
At the link.
And this is going to bring a lot of attention to the Commanders because a lot of people now it's trending whether they should go back to the Redskins, whatever. Just saying, there's a lot of things, a lot of wheels in motion right now because this is an old NFC East, brawl, and it just doesn't feel right with the Commanders name there. But whatever, we'll see what happens there. Jaden Daniels obviously out to prove a mission. He's done it already twice. First 2 playoff games, no problem. Win at Tampa, win at Detroit. And so he's looking to do it again and get to the Super Bowl. It's going to be incredible.
Yeah, and then followed by the game, the AFC Championship. You got the Kansas City Chiefs against Buffalo Bills. That game obviously would be in Arrowhead. It'd be cold, most likely. I mean, we were there. It was almost a year ago. Literally a year ago. But the Bills know how to play in cold.
Yeah.
You know, those fans will travel. Like, it'll be a very, very, very explosive game.
Yep. So going back again, you got, obviously the Washington and Philadelphia rivalry. Washington trying to, shock everybody and get to the Super Bowl, and Philly trying to build off this incredible season that they had, and specifically with, in my opinion, I think yours as well, that the league MVP Saquon Barkley trying to get to the Super Bowl it would be the second time for Hurts. So we'll see how that works out. And then, the AFC, these two teams are no strangers. They've played in playoffs before. The Chiefs went into Buffalo last year and beat them to advance. And 2 years prior to that, they had that crazy game in Kansas City where there was like 20 points scored in the last minute and a half of the game. So these teams, I think, are going to battle, and it's going to be a heck of a ball game. Both of these games are going to be really good.
So let's do something a little off topic, right?
Yeah.
I know who in a second. I promise you guys in a second. He is going to share the next round of the contest, the SoFLo Sports Contest. But in the chat, who's going to be the Super Bowl, right? Obviously, we have these matchups this week. Next week will be the Pro Bowl, and then you have Super Bowl. And so, curious to know, in the chat, drop in your chat, who do you think is going to be in the Super Bowl? I'm more than happy to share my prediction.
Yeah, so just going in this room, Brett, I don't think Marino was a rookie. I think that was his second year. Marino, 83, but he made it to the Super Bowl in 85. 84 was his second year, so he didn't start as a rookie. So Daniels would be the first one. Russ is saying there's a heat wave in Philly, 42 degrees. I mean, that's kind of hot for that. And then he did also say F Washington and their owner. And Russ, if you want to drop in the chat, you did mention that the owner of the Washington Commanders actually also owns the Philadelphia 76ers.
I know that.
So a very crazy, ongoing development there, with obviously Washington and Philly.
That's like those fans who are like Dolphin fans and Celtics fans. It's weird, right? It's like you're going for a Boston team, but you're also a Dolphins fan. We have a lot of those. We have a lot of so. Yeah. So guys, drop in the chat. Who do you think we're going to have in this Super Bowl matchup in New Orleans this year? I'll start.
I don't want to say mine, but you could go because I'm playing in another pick'em league. Not this one, obviously, but I don't want to say my picks. But you go ahead.
Oh, he's starting to lose his voice. It's almost time's up.
No, I'm just good.
Okay, so I Commanders Bills.
Commanders Bills. Wow. So that Super Bowl occurrence has happened before, that matchup. The Redskins at the time did beat the Bills.
Which I hope that would happen as well.
1992. Yeah, but here's the thing. I think the Eagles are the better team. And
but it's any given Sunday.
I get it. But should Buffalo win, I want them playing the better team. And I think that better team is the Eagles. So I'm rooting for the Eagles. I'm not going to say who I think, whatever, but I'm rooting for the Eagles.
So who do we have in here? We have, let's see what we got in here. So we have Brent, KC, and the Eagles. I mean, that's the most, Russ as well, right? So Russell.
Okay, remember, some of you guys are playing in the contest.
No, that's fine. They can.
You don't want to show your cards if we're playing poker, but
okay.
Either way, so those are some of the predictions that we have. I know you gave yours. I won't give mine. Okay. I will say, though, that somebody brought up Marino in 83. And so this past Monday, as Ashley mentioned, was the inauguration, which takes us back to the last time the Dolphins were in the Super Bowl, 40 years ago, this past Monday, January 20th, 1985, 40 years ago. To put things into perspective, if you were a 5-year-old child back in 1985, you are now a middle-aged adult. That's how long it's been since the Dolphins have been in the Super Bowl. Long time. So, and fun fact about that game, since it fell on January 20th, and the inauguration is always on January 20th, Ronald Reagan actually did the coin toss from the White House. Awesome. So they had a live screen, and he flipped the coin for Super Bowl 19 from the White House. The Dolphins chose tails. Dwight Stevenson, Hall of Fame center, chose tails. It actually landed heads. And back then, show you how things have changed, the 49ers won the toss, and they elected to receive the ball. Almost rarely happens anymore. You want to obviously defer to the second half, but the 49ers on that day won the toss and elected to receive the ball.
All right. So I guess we'll save the best for last. Let's bring it home. AFC East, right? Let's bring it all in. Kumbaya. So, Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver. He's been on the team this is his second season.
First year.
No,
This is first year. This is first year. Yeah, first year defensive coordinator.
Because we had Vic Fangio.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have loved to cross that out.
Fangio's in the Eagles, so yeah, it's his first year.
Wouldn't that have been lovely just to cross that out and give Anthony Weaver the year? Oh, that one.
Well, he may have only be here 1 year because.
So as I was saying, Anthony Weaver has his second interview with the New Orleans Saints for a head coach position, which obviously would be fantastic for him. You know, you want to see him go up the ladder. The players seem to have a great relationship with him. It'd be a good fit for him and stuff. But then where does that leave the Dolphins? Who do they fill that defensive coordinator with? Now, in the big scheme of things, that would be 3 defensive coordinators in 3 years. Yes. One guy that comes to my head, who I like him, and I know this is kind of be like, Robert Saleh.
Yeah.
Jets former head coach,
yeah,
little head coach. He was, released
he's got the defensive background. He's a defensive coordinator, plenty of other stuff. So, yeah, that'd be a good one.
That would be interesting to see him come down here. But there's plenty of guys out there. Who do you kind of see would be a good fit? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would, looking at a guy who's, just got eliminated, but a guy that had a great game against the Vikings, Chris Shula, right? And so the Dolphins have really never done anything before Don Shula or after Don Shula, so why not bring in a Shula back to Miami? So if we do, in fact, lose Weaver, and it looks like when you do a second interview, that's pretty much the writing's on the wall, right? Would you say? I mean, maybe if he goes back to a third interview, definitely it's a lock, right? But you're going back for a second interview, good chance that he's going to be taken from us and it's going to be the next head coach of the Saints. And if that's the case, I go big. I go get Chris Shula, bring him back home. He grew up down here, grandson of Don Shula. I would bring him down to be the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins. And guess what? If McDaniels messes up, get rid of him. Chris Shula is your next head coach of the Miami Dolphins. How about that?
Well, talking about head coaches of the Miami Dolphins, head coaches in general, the New York Jets. Speaking of, they have a new head coach, right? Here we go again, the Jets.
Aaron Glenn, former New York Jet. He
time there.
He was drafted with the Jets, first round pick, 12th overall. He played for the Jets for 7 seasons. He actually he's an accomplished player, 41 interceptions. He had a 100-yard interception against the Dolphins, a pick 6 return for 100 yards off Marino. But for those of you Dolphin fans, you diehard Dolphin fans in the room, you'll remember him better for being on the wrong side of the fake spike from Dan Marino. Dan Marino in the Meadowlands, Giant Stadium against the Jets back in 1994, called for the fake spike, and he threw it over Mark Ingram, and on the opposite side of that was Aaron Glenn. So, hey, we can hang our head that we got Aaron Glenn for one of his pull down your pants moments, if you will.
Oh, your analogies are so ratchet.
Well, we caught him. We caught him with his pants down. Jeez. Marino did. We got him. So.
All right. Tell them in the room who's left in the contest. How do we go on? Go
ahead. All right. I know Russell's in the room. Russell, you're my guy from Fall River, Mass. I love you, Russell, but you did not make the top 5. I got to be honest. You didn't play the first week. So a lot of people that didn't make the contest in the first week or who didn't make their picks this past weekend, they didn't have enough points. So we took our top 5. There's actually 6 on here because the two last contestants with the 5th place are tied. So that's why we have 6 total. So without further ado, here are the rankings. And those of you who played, I know, Russell. Hey, that's all right. You tried. My guy from Fall River, Mass. But yeah, so here are the top 5, 6 total, but top 5. SoFLo Sports Show, NFL Playoff Pick'em. Can you get a drum roll? Drum roll. Number 1, Russ Taylor, got 14 points. Number 2, Sheldon, 13 points. Still number 2, Brent with 13 as well. Still number 2, 3-way tie, Dade has 13. And then our last 2 that are tied for 5, Josephine's got 12, and Darren Wagner, number 12. Darren was the only guy who picked the Washington Commanders. So, Darren, congratulations. You are in the final 5, if you will. But these are the current point leaders. And we have your email, so we will be sending you an email with this week's questions. You're going to have 4 questions again, and obviously pick your correct teams. We'll do it again this weekend, and then 2 weeks from or 3 weeks from this Sunday for the Super Bowl, and we will crown our winner.
Yeah, the best man or woman win.
That's right. We do have
You have a woman.
Josephine is in there with
Male
12.
or female, better decide your gender, male or female.
So one more time, here are your rankings, your current leaders for our playoff pick'em contest. And again, we will be emailing you now that we have your email. We will be emailing you with this week's questions and your team predictions for the 2 games. After everybody has submitted their pick, we will email you all the everybody else's picks. So it's transparency. You all know who has who. So what do we got here? Drum roll. Thanks, Russ. You are the leader. Congratulations. You are currently at the top. Russell, we are coming up at some point. Russell promised us to go see some great white sharks off Cape Cod. So we're coming, Russell. And Sheldon, who already won our contest early on, is in the mix again. So Sheldon, we need lottery numbers, brother. You need to give us some you got the good look vibes, man.
We're going to need a W-2 from you after
you're right.
winning all our contests. So. No, it's actually funny because real quick, because we got to, it's been over an hour. I won a trip to Chicago almost 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Through
Southwest.
No, through the
Bally's.
It was Bally's sports network. Then
Southwest giveaway.
Then it changed to Sun and then Scripps and all this stuff. And I had to fill out a form and then I had to pay taxes on it. So Sheldon, if you do win, we might hit you on some back taxes with it. So just kidding, guys. So anyways, next week we have a special guest on our show. Super excited that we were able to lock him in. We will be talking to him next Thursday. So for sure the show is next Thursday. We will tell you that much. Let's hold off and announcing who the person is. Unless you want to do it now.
You could do it now. We actually gave you a little bit of a preview of who it was.
Yeah, so next Thursday we have Will Manso, really respected sports anchor down here in South Florida, covers the Heat, the Panthers, all the sports.
Covers them all.
Everything, yeah. But so he will be joining us on the show next week. We'll obviously talk Heat battle, of course, everything. But my big thing that I really want to talk to him about is Jimmy. And you just don't know where that state or that position we're going to be in next week. So whatever it may be, we're excited to talk to him about that, to get to see how his opinion on the Dolphins season, even though it feels like it was so long ago.
Right.
To see what his thoughts were, and just to get to know him a little on and off the camera and see his story.
He is a South Florida journalist extraordinaire, legend in this town.
Came to Canton. He joined us out in Canton,
He was
Ohio.
at Canton.
So.
He goes all around. He famously covered the Panthers this past offseason. He covers all the games, but he went back and forth from Florida to Edmonton, which is one of the longest trips you can make. And he had all kinds of fun stuff happen during those trips out there to Edmonton. Yeah. So, he's going to have a bunch of great stories. Again, he knows his stuff beyond better than anybody in this town. Covers all our teams. And so it's going to be a pleasure to speak with him. If you missed earlier in the show, he did interview Jimmy Butler last week upon his return, and he got off more questions than anybody else there, including Heat beat writers. And, Jimmy gave him all the answers. So it's going to be really interesting.
Straight shooter and, respected throughout the whole South Florida community and within the different organizations that we have here. So really excited to have the opportunity to speak with him next week. So guys, stay tuned. Next Thursday will be the show. So we have a date for you, which usually we're not always able to give you. And we will have our Super Bowl preview going into that. And can't really talk much about Pro Bowl since we're goose eggs there.
For now. I mean, you're going to have some people that will pull out and maybe we'll get, hopefully, Zach Zeeler in or Jonnu Smith, who deserves to be in the Pro Bowl. We'll see. Stay tuned. But, looking forward to next week's show with Will Manso and looking forward to knowing who will be playing in Super Bowl 59 from New Orleans. I had a brain fart there, but it's New Orleans, and I just hope it's not the Bills at this point. Please don't let it be the Bills. So.
All right, guys. Well, it has been fun. Thank you so much for hanging out with us tonight. For all of you in the rest of the country, besides the ones in South Florida, stay warm. We know we have an idea. We see what you are going through. We see the snow on our timelines and stuff, and although it's a brutal 50-something degrees here. I cannot imagine the snow that the rest of the country is getting. So until then, guys, we will see you next Thursday. Have a great night. Enjoy some NFC, AFC championship games this weekend. And let's go Heat.
Yeah, absolutely. Go Heat and enjoy the games. And let's go back to the chat. Go back to the chat. Should be a good group of games there. So we'll see.
All right.
Adam says birds. 9 degrees. Jeez. All right, guys. Have a good rest of the week. Peace.